This presentation is also co-authored with Carolyn Olson, who's also with SGS sitting in the audience. She'll be doing, as this is a fill-in presentation, she'll be doing a similar one this Wednesday. I'm getting it right. Jesse, do you know, is this the, no, this is the slide. Or we just do it manually? Yeah. Okay, I'll do it manually. Just a brief word on SGS. We work across every major supply chain out there. We're an expert in testing, certification, inspection. We're a third party for any work that's needed, and with 96,000 employees all over the world. Like I said, we work across every major supply chain out there. And within our business, which is the natural resources business, we work all the way across from mining exploration, feasibility studies, through to construction, operations, transportation, all the way through closure and recycling, with labs all over the world in every major mining country. So I'm going to kind of touch on two parts. I'm going to sort of talk about what's happening globally and then focus on Canada. Now, we really are, we hear about the critical minerals every day. We're definitely at the beginning of a sustained period of growth, and it's really driven by chemical and the automotive sector making commitments, saying that they're going to build, actual supply chain and specifically gigafactories, as an example. However, we don't have enough of these commodities out there at present from a supply perspective, and we do expect supply shortages, and we will need aggressive mine development timelines. So as an example, the global industry needs 50 lithium mines, 60 nickel mines, and 17 cobalt mines just to meet the expected demand for 2030. The OECD just issued a paper in April, basically last month, and this is one of the charts that they had in it in terms of critical minerals. And again, reaffirming we're going to need a massive amount of commodities going forward. It's maybe no surprise when we see, the lithium, we're going to need 42 times, projected increase in demand from what we have today. Again, maybe those aren't a surprise. The one I do want to point out that's quite interesting is copper. Copper today is a 25 million ton market, and it's a mature market. So the fact that it's going to go 3 times by 2040, that means we're going to need 75 million tons of copper just to support that growth, which is massive. So even, like I said, the mature industries, it matters as well. So what do we need to meet net zero 2050? We're going to need 20 terawatts of annual lithium-ion battery output just to meet those long-term goals. So what does that mean? We're, on the mining side, all these terawatts, what does that actually mean? We're going to need 50 to 60 million tons of battery raw materials just to meet those long-term targets. But is it all going to come from mining? Absolutely not. It's going to be a mix. The analysts are forecasting, and this is Benchmark Minerals forecast, that they're going to say 50% of this will come from mining, 40% will come from recycling. It will be a significant part of that future sector. But also, because of advancements in research and technology, there will be new elements added to these battery chemistries. So maybe they're not fully identified, but there will be new minerals, new elements required. I also wanted to share this. We need leadership in industry, whether, again, it's chemical, automotive, and other companies out there. So in March, Tesla gave their vision called the Master Plan Part 3. And what they did is, it's not just talking about electric vehicles. They actually looked at the full energy supply, and they looked at all of the inputs necessary. And Tesla's theme was, the current energy economy is wasteful. So right now, they said today, there's 165 petawatt hours per year of energy supply. And what is a petawatt? It's 1,000 terawatts. It's a massive number. And this chart sort of reflects today's energy usage across all the different industries. And the point is, when we see this big waste heat, that's the inefficiency. And the point that Tesla is pointing is that, hey, we still have a high percentage supplied by fossil fuels. And so what they did is they gave their future vision to say, well, here's what we could do as one alternative path. So what they said is we could get rid of 125 petawatts per year of fossil fuels, and we could replace it with more efficient 66 petawatts per year of sustainably generated electricity. So we need leadership out there to set the tone for the future. And of course, that's going to pull all the minerals for that journey, regardless of the industry. It's not just electric vehicles only. When we talk about the need for partnerships, GM presented back in November at Benchmark Minerals Conference in California. And these are the two slides from their talk. And on the left, they said, hey, we need partners, and it goes all the way back through the mining supply chain. But the other side is they needed government to support that growth as well. And they identified on the right side, here's where we need help: R&D, workforce, recycling. They can't do it alone. So it was nice to see this mentioned, because we need collaboration in industry. And at the same time, they announced back then in November that they had their partnership with Vale. So this is the new way of the future. Automotive companies working with mining companies because they need each other. And they said, where are we going to set up shop? We're going to have a nickel sulfate supply agreement. We're going to be in Bécancour, Quebec. All right. And it put Canada on the map, but it also put Quebec on the map. Now, if we talk about Canada, how do we rank? So this is Bloomberg's battery supply chain ranking. China is number 1 across these different metrics. Well, Canada and US are number 2 and 3. So that bodes well for the investment coming if you're looking at where do you want to position yourself in the future. If we look at Europe and Scandinavia, they're next in the list, but they have a lot of orange and red on the front end of that raw material side in terms of the scoring. So they do have some more front-end challenges to overcome. So let's talk about Canada. So in 2021, if anyone saw the Maple Leaf, when they issued the critical mineral list, there was 31 commodities on that list. But in all actuality, when you sort of distill it, they also issued the Canadian Critical Mineral Strategy in December 2022. And they said, okay, we're going to prioritize 6 commodities: lithium, graphite, nickel, cobalt, copper, and rare earths. All important, all essential. That really is the growth ahead. And what did that mean from a federal budgeting point of view? $3.8 billion over 8 years across the full supply chain: mining, battery, you name it. Now, how do we, get that growth? As we said, we need partnerships. Well, we also rely on our industry associations, just like CIM. That's why we're all here today. So I just wanted to put out some of the different associations that are involved engaging the sector. They, engaging government in terms of policy. And a lot of you sitting in this audience are on some of these different committees. CIM, Mining Association of Canada, C2M2A, Canadian Critical Mineral Council, BMAC, so that's the Battery Metals Association of Canada, and a little further downstream, Accelerate. So I advise any of you join these associations, help with this, the policy related to energy transition. So now let's talk a little bit about provinces. And I'll say there's one to me that stands out. Quebec is very proactive in terms of its policy. So, we have Ministry of Natural Resources, the Ministry of Economy, Innovation and Energy, as well as Investment Quebec. They're definitely taking the lead. And we've met many times with the different representatives. They're proactive in terms of defining that strategy and engaging from that perspective. And Quebec's strategy is similar to most. It's 3 parts: transform minerals, produce electric vehicles, and develop battery recycling. And they do say that battery recycling is just as important as the other pieces, right? And that's what I talked about in the beginning slide. And if you look at sort of Quebec, and this is directly from one of the government websites, that Quebec sees itself obviously as a first mover in that supply chain, because obviously it can help feed Ontario and into the US. But I'll just say Eastern Canada, for sure, especially because of the large demand expected in the States, this is all helping us because, like I said, North America is moving fast with respect to battery supply chain strategy. There are a lot of different federal funding opportunities, and Carolyn will go to more detail on Wednesday. She's the expert on that. But at a very high level, just want to mention there's a lot of different programs, and I invite anyone who has a technology or a project to look into these programs, because the government, and also they like larger projects. The percentages that are available increase with higher funding. And since I talked about Quebec, just mentioning some of the different programs as well, but whether it's federal or provincial funding, they are increasing in time. So they're always looking for, like I said, new ideas and how to engage the sector to keep on advancing, whether it's innovation and technology projects. So I'm just going to talk about 2 case studies to actually show how this works in actual practice. So for any of you who was at the Canadian booth at PDAC, this is Minister Wilkinson, our Minister of Natural Resources, talking about the Canadian critical mineral policy. And in that, they announced $344 million of critical mineral development. It's a long press release. The one thing that I'm most interested in is what are the dollars that are going directly to the mining companies that will use it to advance their projects. So although there was $344 million for a whole bunch of different development things, the one that got me here, and this is literally from the press release, 6 projects received a total of $14 million. They applied for it, they won it. I forget, Carolyn, what's the percentage? Was it 5% or something, maybe, of successful applicants? So that gives you an idea of the number of companies that applied, and I will name them because I want to make sure they get some airtime. Sherritt, E3 Lithium, FPX Nickel, Search Minerals, Geomega Resources, and Prairie Lithium. So you don't have to go to the capital markets necessarily to get the whole 100% of what you need. Now we have, government as a partner in your project. So this is important. So in one of those companies, Search Minerals, they received actually the largest grant within that $14 million. They received 5. And their interest is it's a rare earth project in Newfoundland. And this is directly from their press release for the same day. They want to do a demonstration plant, and they're working with us at SGS, $9 million demonstration plant to prove their rare earth extraction process. And so the government is giving $5 million of the 9. So it's a very high percentage. That's great for any project, any technology provider. So I'm just going to talk about a second case study. So this is a project in Quebec. So the applicant is Xterra. They came to us to look for a small funding. And we said, well, are you taking advantage of the government funding, whether it's provincial or federal, in your case? And after talking to them, we were able to put together a team of different technology providers. So SGS, G Mining, Simco Technologies, CAEQ, Jumin, Bearskin, and PAR. Now with a team, an integrated team, we had also technology partners as part of that, and stakeholders. Now that application was in excess of $5 million. It is still being evaluated, so I can't say anything beyond that. But the point is, this is kind of how it works. If companies are looking at try to get funding. And in this case, this is for a carbon capture mineral project. And this is based on anyone who knows, Thetford Mines, asbestos tailings. So now we may create some added value, much needed, R&D from that point of view. Anyway, so that was it. But the idea was here just to share that there is success, and we expect to see more funding.